Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Concordia University's Fourth Space. Thank you for joining us for the next event in this series, the Sustainability Ambassadors Project Showcase. And just to help situate you, we're streaming to YouTube. We're live from Fourth Space, and we are located on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. Here at Fourth Space, we work with our university community to help mobilize knowledge with daily activities that examine questions, projects, things that are in development across the university. And today we're running this and almost all of our events as a live stream Zoom meeting. And we encourage questions and comments in the chat. Those of you joining us in the space, just raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you so that everyone can hear. With that, it's my pleasure to pass it over to Sustainability Ambassadors Program Coordinator, Meredith Marty Dugas. Meredith, welcome in.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us. I am really happy to be able to present some of our student projects. The Sustainability Ambassadors Program has existed for the past 3 years. So we're a very young program and we're quite proud of what we have been able to accomplish during that time. These are going to be projects being presented by students who have dedicated their time for an entire academic year towards volunteering on campus with some of our important sustainability initiatives, getting to know each other, understanding their values, and ultimately designing and implementing their own projects that will help improve sustainability on campus. So today we'll be having folks present from across the 3 years of our programming, and we're really excited to be able to have the different years meet each other and get a chance to share that work. So the first person that I'll have up is from our very first year of the program back in 2021, Jessica Winton.
Okay, so I was a part of the initial Sustainability Ambassadors program, and for my campus project, I came up with Waste Invaders. So Waste Invaders is an educational arcade-style game teaching people about waste management habits, both at Concordia and off campus. So the main premise of the game is essentially, from the name that you might be able to tell from, is like Space Invaders. So there are 2 stages to the game, one of which, as you can see on the left, is color-coded. These colors correspond to the 8 buttons on the arcade cabinet and the colored plastic resin codes. So, for example, if an object is red, the button is red, and that's plastic type 1. On the object, you can see at the top of the screen the name of the item, as well as any kind of details like your health, your score, things like that. And for the second part of the game, there are regular categories. So there's the compost, mixed recycling, paper recycling, electronic recycling, donations, campus initiatives that are specific to Concordia, as well as cleaning and trash. Because a lot of people may get very confused on waste management habits because despite Canada being somewhat ahead of the curve in terms of North America, the standards are still very, very low. We only have a few kind of bins for our households, which is just compost, recycling, and trash. This ends up with a lot of cross-contamination, which is why I find a game like this to be very engaging and important for people to really learn best practices. And yeah, so the game was kind of funded in part by the Sustainability Action Fund as well as ASFA, who provided 2 grants in order to pay for programmers and artists to help collaborate on the game. I myself just did the game design as well as the grant writing and the actual construction of the cabinets. All of the materials that were used in the construction were from the Creative Center for Reuse here at Concordia. So all of the wood and paint is reclaimed from other projects as well as the screen. And yeah, it just really adds to the sustainability part of the project. So I wanted to show, I wanted to show people that you can really do anything to kind of get people involved. The arcade aspect of it was the fact that it's a lot more attention grabbing than maybe just like a regular poster sitting on a wall is. And it's much more engaging, so people will be more likely to remember what they're learning. The project is also open source, so anyone is free to make modifications to the code for their own version if they see fit. So for example, the one that's covered by the image a bit, McGill could add their own sustainability initiatives to their own version of the game as long as it's not like monetized. And yeah, so part of the cabinet, as you may be able to see on the menu from the options like campus initiatives or recycling tips, also include links to, for example, the sustainability map at Concordia, where you can see all the initiatives at Concordia, what they do, what they're for, and how they're related. So it also acts as like a central hub, almost like a billboard that's always changing. It just requires people to actually update it. And yeah, one of the main focuses was outreach. So you're much more likely to notice a 2-meter tall arcade cabinet than you are a poster sitting next to a water fountain. The attention grabbing aspect was one of the main parts of the motivation for the project, because I wanted something that would be long lasting, not something that might die out as soon as I graduate or stop getting involved in the program. And yeah, that's more or less all I have to say, other than projects like this can really lay the groundwork for future iterations. If people want to pick it up and make improvements when I graduate or stop being involved. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Um, Hi, everyone. My name is Diane. I was part of the Sustainability Ambassadors Program last year, and me and my team had this project of making a university-wide waste audit, as we noticed that a lot of people were not sorting their waste properly around campus. And more notably, here in the library building, we noticed a lot of people just discarding their waste in the trash stream. So it was something that we really wanted to lay eyes on and do something about it, because the last waste audit that was done at Concordia was in 2013. So we really wanted to see how we're doing in terms of sorting habits, and if there were any improvements from the previous audit. So some of the interesting findings that we had from this project are that only 18% of the content inside the trash stream or landfill stream was actually like trash. So this means that we have a diversion rate of 37%. So we could be diverting from this stream at this rate. Another finding is that almost half of what was found in the landfill stream as well belonged to the organics stream. So this also tells us about how people are understanding the signals, or if they're not even like paying attention to that. And well, also regarding the compost stream, we noticed there was a lot of liquid in what they were disposing. So like coffee cups, any beverage, really it was just disposed like that. So it also makes it really hard for the people taking care of the waste to take care of this. And there's a lot of leakages, and it makes their job harder. So that's also something else to look at. And another finding is that 36% of the total weight from the land stream could have been recycled. So either from the paper stream or the mixed recycling, it was just going to the waste 36%. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we can even see that in the library building. The land stream bin is always full of recyclable material, which is very like sad to see that people in university are not sorting properly. So yeah, we were wondering with these findings, like, where is it coming from? Is it education? Is it the design of the bins? Is it lack of encouragement? So we wanted to kind of narrow the causes of these being. So we figured, well, some of the possibilities to kind of tackle these waste habits is to educate yourself. So one of our proposals was to create a video that would be shown at the beginning of the semester to all students. So they're really informed of how to sort their waste properly, as we have a very diverse community at Concordia. So of course, people are gonna have different sorting habits. So that was one of our key points, like the education. How are we giving this information to students? And also we were reimagining how waste stations can be redesigned. So as we saw from the results in the audit, only a small percent of landfill stream was actually trash. So maybe having a smaller bin for this category would enhance that thinking of, like, before just disposing of your waste, if you see that this bin is smaller, then maybe it doesn't go there. It could go to another stream. So that was one of our, well, another proposal, maybe starting with a demo project at offices or less transited areas, just to see if it really makes a difference to have a smaller bin for the landfill. And well, it's also very important to mention that yes, we want to properly sort the waste, but most importantly, we want to reduce the plastic that is being used, as only around 5% of the plastic actually gets recycled. So that was also something we wanted to really share with people. And in our outreach, we were tabling at the hall building, sharing this information with people, and also testing their knowledge on sorting habits. And people didn't know this, that only a small amount of plastic actually gets recycled. And this is because plastic degrades really easily, so it's really hard to keep treating the same material as it would be, for example, the cans, metal cans, that's a bit easier to recycle, but for plastic, it gets more tricky as they degrade over time. So that was another important point, just to reduce the amount of single-use plastic. And I found this image that I think it speaks for itself. It's in a river in the Philippines. And well, as they say, it's polluted by single-use plastic that could have been avoided by using reusable materials. And also another important thing was that we saw in the audit a lot of the waste coming from the tenants was not sorted at all, and a lot of compostable material was going straight to landfill. So we thought that was concerning, as they're not being, like, their sorting habits are not being exactly regulated. So that's an important point as well, to implement more stringent regulations for the tenants, as we have a lot of them that offer food services. So either by them properly sorting their waste, and also the plastic they use for selling their products. So for people that are interested in continuing this zero waste path, there are a lot of things that could be done in campus, really. And another thing that we thought about was having like an incentive program where students get, I don't know, a sticker or something every time they bring their own cup to a coffee shop. And so as they collect it, maybe they get a free beverage or some kind of incentive that motivates students more and more to stop using single-use items. So yeah, there are a lot of things that could be done in the future. So if you're interested in moving forward to a zero waste community, there are a lot of things to do, and the report is available for anyone that may be interested. So yeah, I think that's all.
So our next presenter will be joining us on Zoom. That'll be Joseph.
Hey, y'all, you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, cool. Good afternoon. I'm joining you from stormy and rainy Silver Springs, Maryland. I hope the weather is better in Montreal. So I'm going to be talking about pollen power, and I'm going to start by giving you some background sort of on my involvement in gardening and how I got interested in this and how that developed into my project, why our project ended up being surveying, answering some questions about why it matters, and then finally, I'm going to sort of explain and try and dovetail where everything has led us to and what it looks like now. So to start with, the background. This story, like much gardening stories, begins after lockdown. So after lockdown, I spent a lot of time in the gardens, mainly because I wanted to be outside a little bit more. Being constrained and being locked up and being insect and plant free wasn't exactly fun for me in particular. I've always been a little bit outdoorsy. I grew up like swamp adjacent, so creeks, marshes, rivers, I grew up with them. So it was nice to reconnect on the Loyola campus in particular because it's a little bit greener. In particular, I spent some time with the Concordia Pollinators Initiative with Faye, who at the time was in her graduating year from her biology degree, I think. So yeah, over that summer, I got to know a lot more about the projects there. I got to know about Mind Heart Mouth. I got to know about Cultivation. I got to know about People's Potato and all the different gardening projects there, like Sankofa. So yeah, that's where I got ingrained into that sort of mindset of what is available on campus, what people are doing, and eventually that's where I met Jackie Martin, and then Meredith asked host volunteering sessions for the Concordia Pollinators Initiative, and that's how I got dragged into Sustainability Ambassadors program. Once I was in the program, my group it was a nice coincidence, and I have this habit of sort of falling into situations that end up working for me. Everyone in the group wanted to do something regarding bees, but they weren't really quite sure. And I had always had the tendency of needing to leave the meetings early because I had class. So it kind of worked out where I had to find a group immediately, lucked into finding the group that wanted to work on bees and pollinators. And we just, everything just worked out. And we started researching different methods of trying to help local pollinator communities, which kind of segues us into why surveying. Surveying because we looked at bee homes and we looked at different habitat structures and we looked at different hands-on sort of, I don't want to say aggressive, but more involved ways of trying to help pollinators. And like most things in academia, in life, and everything, the more we learn, the more we find out that maybe we shouldn't be sort of running head first into things. Maybe we shouldn't be trying to, you know, go into a habitat we don't know a lot about. We talk to our university's entomologists, we talk to Jackie Martin, we talk to different gardeners, we talked to a lot of people who basically gave us the same answer, which was the less you get involved and the more that you try and identify what is already working, it's probably for the best. And this is because bee homes are high maintenance, it's because the nodes for disease, it's because how much are we stressing pollinators out? How much are we sort of hurting more than we're helping? Um, so with our sort of mindset on surveying, a less invasive approach, trying to just accommodate the spaces that already exist, we set out on building our quadrats, building our surveying methods, building our techniques. Essentially, we just took 4 pieces of wood, made them into a standard square, and we just have like a half-meter by half-meter square that we put on the ground, and we wait for insects to fly in. We take pictures of them, and that's what it boils down to from like a mechanical perspective. Um, but why it matters was interesting because Jackie Martin actually approached us, and we were informed that the university was trying to conduct biodiversity surveys because if there's one thing that administrators like is evidence to actually have something to act on, to actually push forward, policy, legislation, whatever it may be. So this was a way of gathering that evidence, and this was a way of sort of incorporating our project into something the university was trying to do to come up with data. And using iNaturalist, which is an app that we have to take pictures while we're surveying, it kind of streamlined the whole process. So we went from, this weird hodgepodge idea of trying to have bee homes that could or could not get infected with bacteria, fungi, or just wasps that decided to live there and just ruin the bees' lives, to surveying, which eventually got integrated into the Loyola Garden Network. And ultimately, in last year's sustainability conference, my team members actually gave a presentation to help audience members identify pollinators and plants, and it was this really cool. I couldn't be there in person, but it was part of like the sustainability conference, and we got to work on it as part of like one of our classes in the sustainability minor. Many of my peers also were taking that, so it was sort of like a double thing where it was for credit. It was also with our ZAP project. It was also doing something we love. It all sort of merged together in a really nice organic way. Again, me finding myself in places that just end up working for me. But yeah, building off that, in the spring and summer of last year, we hosted weekly surveys where participants had a chance to practice and develop their learned skills that they learned in the conference to identify pollinators, to identify the different flowers. And it's very blissful because when you boil down what you're actually doing, you're kind of just sitting in a garden taking pictures of like plants, insects, and different critters. So it's a very nice sort of less aggressive, less stressful. It's citizen science, essentially, right? And it's an opportunity where individuals can engage with and sort of facilitate their own learning and yeah, help the well-being of pollinator communities in their own way with just an app on your phone. So yeah, thanks y'all for having me and take care.
Hello. Good. So I was the same a sustainability ambassador year as both Deanne and Joseph, who just went before me. And as they mentioned, as Joseph mentioned, we kind of got grouped or formed our groups based off of shared interests, and I ended up part of the Greenwatch team. So it was myself, Ralph, Kavi, and Adi or Aditya. And we were a pretty mixed bag of majors. I'm in the ecology program, Adi is in the engineering, Ralph's geography, planning and environment, and Kavi's in the humanities department. And so just give you an idea of how our team formed and what, I guess, the process of the Sustainability Ambassador Program is. Around November is when we formed our teams of 2022, and our shared central theme or passion was more of an education focus. And then come December, we settled on greenwashing. We thought about workshops, we thought about creating a newsletter, and in the end, we ended up with a interview series. And thanks to Christian, we coined the Greenwatch name. January, there was a lot of candidate searching. We started planning our event. February, we had our first interview. We continued all of our planning and event coordination. March was a bit of a push. We managed to squeeze in 3 more interviews. We tabled, and we were doing lots of transcribing. In April, actually almost to the year today, we hosted our Sugar Shack chat during the ice storm. So it was not very large, but that was at the Shift Center, and we managed to convince some of the Shift interns to participate. So that was great. And where we soft launched our interviews. And finally, sometime over the summer, actually I have no idea when they went up on the website, but I know that they ended up on the website over the summer of 2023. And so in the end, we ended up with 3 complete interviews with Liz Miller, Dr. Jill Ditter, and Smita Manji. We tried our best to cover a wide variety of departments, backgrounds. We are trying to get an interest across disciplines. And we approached it by finding our candidates. So we were hunting through Concordia's Sustainability Champion Awards, the SAF grants, everything that we could that we know our candidates were involved in at Concordia. And lots of emails went unanswered, but we did get a hold of 3 people. We actually did interview 4, but due to technical issues, our 4th one never made it up. But we did lots of research on the candidate, framed our interview questions around them, but in the end, we did see 3 sort of main questions or directions that came out of the interviews, which was how did they come to be involved at Concordia, or specifically in the sustainability world at Concordia? What are their personal calls to action? So what do they recommend for you to get involved? And then also, what is their definition of sustainability? Which was kind of really, we threw it at them, and a lot of people were stumped and had to come back to us, because it is a really hard question to answer. And if you are interested in reading them, they do still exist. They are on the Sustainability Ambassador project page, which you can find at the Sustainability Hub. And our main takeaways, each of us in the group chose one. Mine was the last one, which was finding your career or your place within sustainability action is never a linear path. It was pretty learning from our candidates was truly zigzagging in and out of environmentalism. Some of them never even crossed their radar until they arrived at Concordia. So it's a really interesting path. And I think, honestly, I dug these up from our sustainability or our Sugar Shack chat, and I couldn't even remember which one was mine, because I think they resonate today more with me going back. But yeah, so it was a really lovely process getting to know these actors at Concordia, but then also learning that you kind of just have to go with the flow and follow your own interests. And so thank you for listening. If you want to get involved, highly recommend the Sustainability Ambassador Program. At the end of each of our interviews, we asked our candidates, but we also included, based off of their interests, different ways that you can get involved at Concordia. So I recommend checking these out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. We're just going to take a quick pause, like 5 minutes, while we get ready for the next group, which is Going to Bat. So stick around for that. Hi, Anjali. I can see you're in the Zoom. Maybe you're presenting remotely. That would be fine. Do you want to turn on your camera? We could, if that's true.
thing that was always the plan? Or? Oh no, like when you say introduce ourselves, like we just do what's there. I guess we can delete the pre-story since this one. Should we delete
All right, welcome back, everyone.
Cool. Okay, we'll keep it. Oh, cool. We're on. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for coming. So today we will be doing our Going to Bat workshop, and we'll be celebrating and exploring the complexities of a local underdog, which we're talking about bats in case it wasn't obvious. And we'd just like to start off by saying that we'd like to begin by acknowledging that Concordia University is located on unceded indigenous lands. The Ganyan-Gahaga Nation is recognized as the custodians of the lands and waters on which we gather today. Tiohtià:ke/Montreal is historically known as the gathering place for many First Nations. Today, it is a home to a diverse population of Indigenous and other peoples. We respect the continued connections with the past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community. And biodiversity and Indigenous issues are super intrinsic. So yeah, we're grateful. So yeah, if anyone wants to just scan this QR code, it's just a pre-survey to help us like quantify how we're doing. No pressure. Thank you. Yeah, and it's like 5 questions after your name and no pressure to do it. And so this is who we are. We're part of the Sustainability Ambassador team, and we're interdisciplinary. We have biology, engineering, and journalism. And so in no way are we like bat experts, you know, like if you have a bat problem, I see Ashley in the crowd, like we're not the peeps, you know, we are just nerds who got excited and ended up here, and now there's a camera in my face. And so some of us are volunteering with a group here called Nature Positive, who does a lot of great stuff for biodiversity. And so when they were doing a land survey to explore different flora and fauna, we found 3 bat species, and we just sort of followed that lead. And now this is what we sort of learned, and we hope to develop some social capital and social literacy about these little baby mammals with wings. And yeah, and bats are a keystone species, so they're important indicators of the health of an ecosystem. Their populations help us know if things are going bad or good or whatever. I'll pass it now to my colleague Anjali. Oh, and real quick, we have learning outcomes of the workshop. So hopefully when you leave here today, you're able to navigate some of the truths among myths about bats, identify some of the bat species around campus, recognize the importance of the bats, understand existing threats to the bats, like imagine if you could explain it to someone, and just be aware of what you could do or what the approaches are to help them out. And now to Anjali.
Hello everybody. So today I'll be talking about the myth and the truth about bats. So it's kind of interactive session, so if you guys can answer the question, it would be great. So first question, are bats blind? Yes. They're not blind. They have a very small eye. Sometimes it's not developed completely. Bats, oh, sorry, I forgot about the mic. So bats, they are not blind. They have very small eye. Sometimes their eyes are not developed completely. There are bats near the tropical region that use eyesight and smell to hunt, but most of them do echolocation for hunting. Now, do bats sucks blood? So obviously not. I'm not going to scare you guys here. So they won't suck blood. But there are bats that suck blood but not human blood. They feed on wounds of livestock. And these bats are called as vampire bats, and they can be found near Mexico and Central America. And there's something interesting fact about bats are their saliva can be used as medicine for heart stroke, and it's called as Draculin. Now, do bats bring bad luck to house? No. It's normally believed that bats are scary species, and people believe that in Western culture, people actually believe that they are scary. But according to Chinese, they believe it as a good fortune and wealth. They call it as Fu. And in Chinese picture, they depict bats as they carrying a money bag or a coin. So it's not a bad luck. So bats, they are not a bad luck to us. So do all bats have rabies? No, but not all of them, but some of them carries virus. But according to studies, if out of 113 rabies cases, 79 were found from bats. But according to clone studies, he researched, and according to his studies, he proved that not all the bats contain rabies. For example, out of 121 silver-haired bats, only 1% will be having rabies. And out of 96 hoary bats, only 0% will be having rabies. But but bats do carry viruses, but so it's highly recommended not to touch them with bare hands. Now, are they wicked enemy? No, they're cute little creatures. They are not scary or wicked enemy. They are a good pollinator, pest controller, and seed disperser. When it comes to seed dispersing, they help in seed dispersing for fruits like mangoes and bananas and many other plants as well. And when it comes to pest control, a normal bat can consume up to 30 to 40% of their weight is insect. They consume insect. And a pregnant bat consume a lot more than a normal bat. They can consume up to 100% of the weight is for insects. So as we all know, all the bats, they are insectivorous. So having a good colony of bat is actually beneficial for us when it protects our crop from pests and damages. Now, let's learn some facts about bats first in the entire world, then we'll come to Quebec. So first, there are around 1,400 bat species in the entire world. And when it comes to Canada, we have 18 species of bat. And in Quebec, we found 8 species of bat. And some general fact of bats are almost all the bats are insectivorous. They feed on moths and beetles. And they are active during spring and fall season, and they hibernate during winter. But there are some bats that migrate during winter season. So these are the 8 bats that were found in Quebec. And today we are talking about 3 bats that were found in our campus. So bats in our campus. So first bat is silver-haired bat. So as the name says, their main color description is that their body is mainly in black and brown in shade, and they have a little bit of silver color towards their tip of each fur, towards the tip. And about the reproduction, they mate during June and July, and their gestation period is around 50 to 60 days, and they litter 1 to 2 pups in a year. About the habitat, they prefer living near forests and near water bodies, and they can be found in cavities and small hollows, and their current conservation status is endangered. Now, the next bat, hoary bat. We can call them as a migratory marvel, and I'll be explaining the reason in the later slide. So first, let's learn about the color of this bat. So it's quite colorful. Okay, this bat is quite colorful. They have almost like black, brown, and gray shade in their fur, and they have a yellow color towards the head and throat, and frosted white tips on the back and tail. And they are the largest bat in Canada. About the reproduction, they mate during the late summer and early fall, and their gestation period is 56 days. They litter up to 1 to 4 pups in a year. And the reason why they are called as migratory marvel is that during winter, when almost most of the bat hibernate, these bat prefers to migrate. About the habitat, they prefer living in a mixed area where there is forest and open spaces. So their conservation status is endangered. Now moving on to the last bat, which is called as the big brown bat. As its name says, its body is mostly in a brown shade and it has a little bit of lighter shade towards the stomach region. Their face and the ears and their wings are usually in black in color. These bats are the second largest bats in Canada. They mate during late fall or winter, and the fertilization takes place. They delay the fertilization towards the spring, and they give birth to 1 to 2 pups in a year. And compared to other bats, their lifespan is quite, they live up to 20 years. And about the habitat, the reason why it's called as an urban explorer is that they love to live among us. They prefer urban area, and they can be found near bridges or buildings. And during winter, they can be found in human dwellings as well. Their status, the conservation status is not yet assessed. Now, let's talk about how they are detected. So before moving to the slide, I would like to thank Ashley. It's because of her we got a lot of information how they were detected, and it is part of her studies. So, okay, first moving on to how it is being detected, I would like to talk about what is echolocation is. So echolocation is a technique that bats use to hunt. In a simple word, I can say that. They contract their larynx to produce high frequency sound, and these sounds they use to navigate their prey. And we can use the sound to record and detect what kind of species is it. So the machine which is used to detect is called as echometer. And it's a small USB, easy to carry device. You can connect it to any of your devices, your phone or tablet. And for this system to work, we need a supporting application installed in our phone. So for that, we need to install echometer detector, which has been which can be available in Play Store or App Store, and then we can use to record the bad voices. So to talk about how this device works is, the main feature of this device is that it can use to detect what kind of species, what bat species is it, and based on the current location, it provides information what all species can be found in the current area, and it provides information on when and where the species were found. So the main function, reason how the system works on based on this graph. So this graph shows the frequency of each bat species. So based on this graph, the system itself automatically detects based on frequency and will let us know about which bat species is it. So I would like to play a video of a recording which is done by Ashley. She did the recording. So I would like to show it. So this is the voice of silverhead bat. Yeah, this is the recording which is done by her, and as you see in the screen, it actually shows the sound waves towards a downer region. It shows a graph of the sound wave, and based on the sound wave, the system itself will analyze and let us know which bat species is it. So that's all, and I'm handing over to Tristan.
Thank you, Anjali. So also, I wish I could have that bat sound as like my ringtone, just like all the time. So this, when you're around Loyalist campuses or downtown, like you might just see this, and if you're already in that flow, which I know some of y'all are in the audience, like the biodiversity is super complex and it's all around us. Like you can think of pandas or rhinos far away, but biodiversity is all an issue all around Montreal and alive around Montreal. And so here at twilight, you're rushing for the shuttle or something, and what we'd love for you to leave here today is knowing that like somewhere around, like if you were listening to the sounds, like there's bats everywhere, you know, just swooping around, even downtown. I heard from folks that they're downtown. So yeah, Meredith is in the audience. She's seen them. And so we are part of an urban ecosystem. We are the urban ecosystem. We make it up and we share the space. I love this meme from years ago. I found it in my camera roll, but I think it just encourages us to listen to the bats, you know, they are around us. This is the brown stink bug, and it is an invasive species. So based on your value system, you might say, I want to care about bats because they're beautiful and they're souls, but maybe you don't care about bats. Maybe you're like, why would I save bats anyway? This is an invasive species and bats do eat it. This is from Loyola's iNaturalist. And so here is the spotted cucumber beetle. It is a pest on Loyola. I don't like the word pest. Let me rephrase that. It's a creature trying to live on Loyola, but it can bug farming efforts there. And so the big brown bat will eat the spotted cucumber beetle. Bats do love insects, as Anjali kind of talked about. They're insectivores. There's a study that came out in 2011 that says that bats could save the agricultural sector at least 3.7 billion per year. And if you read this study, there's also, they say it could go as high as 53 billion. So the minimum is 3.7 billion. Here is our Loyola farmers, 2 of them. And so yeah, like that spotted cucumber beetle, the bats would help our very own Concordians. Here's just a paper where we see that the presence of bats helps a farm of apples like increase their yield. And in the age of insecticide resistance, like the same pest that we see affecting that apple orchard is also, there's insecticide resistance. So if bats are an alternative in an age where we're using more and more pesticides, insecticides and such, it's important to think about them. Bats, they accumulate pesticides within them. It's called bioaccumulation. They're also impacted by something called white nose syndrome, which was first spotted in New York in around 2006. And it's sort of just traveled up that northeastern corridor to us. And so their populations are dwindling. So having these sort of conversations, like if we see the agricultural benefits and how this white nose syndrome, they're not dwindling. The white nose syndrome is greatly lowering the bat populations in dramatic ways. Another thing to be aware about is that wind turbines in the day and age where there can be a lot of solutions or cool solutions, they also affect bat species, specifically the hoary bat, which is one that we talked about. So just to be cognizant of, like leaving here today, if there's a debate where people are talking about, you know, wind turbines as a great solution, just be like, oh, but by the way, like bats are affected by them, especially I think during the migration of the hoary bat. Other challenges that bats face include disruption of their hibernation from human activity, like noise, whatever, bumping into them, bumping into where they're living, artificial light, habitat loss, pesticide and bioaccumulation, climate change, of course, and destruction of food sources. And so facing all of these, you might think like, well, what can I do? And one of the first things to know is that like, well, yeah, facing all of those things, you might think, what can you do? And here we'll just discuss some of these different themes like going forward. And like, firstly, you should know that you're not alone. Like there are so many groups that are already doing stuff. Like Finding Urban Nature, we do have Ashley in the audience. They do walks around town and listen for the bats, and you can get involved there. Or Nature Positive on Loyola's campuses and downtown campus, you can do stuff. And there's also something called Bat Watch, which is like a sort of a citizen science platform where you can be a part of tracking it. And so you don't have to figure it all on your own. Like there's groups and you'll make friends and stuff, hopefully. And so I think an important question to ask ourselves is, what is beauty? Like here, you'll see this tree that kind of has had some damage. Haven't we all? But yeah, the tree, it's missing some stuff. And so you can try being an advocate for ugly or dying trees. There's some bat species that they roost exclusively in sort of damaged areas. And if you go online, you'll see these like cute little things of them tucked in. They will go under that bark or something. So, you know, advocating can just look like if someone's doing like, that tree's so ugly, be like, well, actually, I mean, don't be annoying, but like be annoying. And then here's just sort of like a bouquet of different stuff surrounding habitat protection. So for like the big brown bat, I think is photographed here, like you might want to consider preserving a dead tree. I don't know if that's a big brown bat, actually. Don't anyway, and then there's something that's emerged called bat houses. And so if you had a point in your life where you have an attic and you have bats in your attic, congrats, you made it financially. You have an attic? What? Oh my God. But if you want to remove bats out of your attic, you might want to consider having a bat house. And so the insulation or the structure of the bat house that's best for bats is still being figured out, like in terms of insulation, I think, and stuff. And so, but if you look online, there's all sorts of structures out there. And if you're ever removing a bat, be aware of the white nose syndrome. And so always be aware of the rabies and other diseases, like we want you to not be scared of them. And we talked about rabies, but like, be aware that it is a thing. You just have to know about it and be smart. But if you see white nose syndrome, you definitely want to call someone and maybe like, don't just be like, oh, I'm going to put it in the bat house. Like, don't put it in your bat house with a bunch of not white nose syndrome folks, bats. Other ways that we can help is planting indigenous flowers instead of ornamental ones. The indigenous flowers will help our insect populations, and that's a more secure food source for the bats. Reducing our pesticide use, or just being curious about the pesticide use. Like, what do you know about what Concordia is doing with pesticides? So be inquisitive about it, and adjusting the way we mow our lawns. So if we have taller lawns and more insect populations and a healthier, more robust sort of ecosystem, the bats benefit from that. This is just sort of a bigger web of what I talked about, but like we are all connected. Like our farmers, our pesticide use, and bat populations being stable, like it is all connected. So, and also mosquitoes. Like I don't want to criminalize mosquitoes, but bats will help us against them. Not that the mosquitoes don't mean bad. It's just what do I know? But hopefully, leaving here today, you are able to just help steer the conversation away from disgust or fear, or like who knew that they were downtown? I didn't know they were downtown. They are our neighbors, so yeah. And now I'll pass that back to Anjali and we'll play a game,
Okay, so we'll play a game. I'll be showing a barcode, so you guys have to scan. And the winner will get a buy-down ticket. So just a minute.
We're just pulling it up.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Great.
So shall I start the game? All right? Okay. All the best.
How's everyone doing? Did everyone get to go? Do we need more time? Let's take 2 more seconds. We'll take 2 more seconds. Thank you guys. Wait, so Christian, you won. Shit. Word. So you want to take it to the biodome? And by ticket to the biodome, we're just gonna like block the cameras while you run in. You know, that's what we meant. No, there is a ticket. There is a ticket.
Sorry, guys.
So yeah, that was our wee little workshop. We hope it was fun and not too fast or anything. But yeah, and so it was fast. Well, I hope, yeah. And but we want to say thank you to Jackie Martin, who's at Nature Positive, and so her survey about the flora and fauna is how we found out about the bats. And then Ashley is here from Fun. Dr. Karen Favre is the person who's behind that recording of the bats we heard. And Dr. Rebecca Titler was a guide to us in the previous workshop we did. And we, from Concordia Food Services, we got stuff from our past event, Oliver de Volpe, and Espace pour la Vie Montréal gave us our ticket for the biodome. So cool. And of course, the Sustainability Ambassador Program, Christian and Meredith, you've guided us. So thank you. And the Office of Sustainability. And Ashley?
Thank you guys for joining us. Please scan the code and please give us feedback on our workshop.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, no stress for the survey, but thank you.
Okay.
You want the...
Yes.
Hello. Oh, is that on? Hello, we are the Reclaim Weave team. So I am Maya.
And I'm Love.
And we have our other partners sitting down. So we are part of the Sustainability Ambassador team. And we did our project on an art installation, which is on the right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with the text. So did you know that most of our clothes that are made from oil and gas? Yes, it's true. In today's world, our clothing, including all those fast fashion products, is derived from fossil fuel. So take a moment to think about the labels on your clothes. And have you noticed that it says polyester, nylon, or acrylic? So these materials commonly found in our garments are all derived from fossil fuels. The sheer scale of our reliance on fossil fuel for clothing is staggering. We need a whopping 342 million barrels of oil annually to manufacture synthetic fibers alone. That's a massive amount of resources that is being diverted towards our wardrobe. But the impact doesn't end there. The production of polyester, for example, emits as much CO2 as 180 coal-field power stations annually, And the consequences are not just environmental. Microplastics from these textiles have been found in human blood, placenta, breast milk, and even in our lungs. Our throwaway culture is taking a toll on us and our planet. Clothing and textile contributes to at least 7% of global landfill waste, with a staggering 92 million tons of textile waste produced globally. In Canada alone, we throw 1 billion pounds of textile annually, with only a quarter of it donated, ending up being sold in secondhand stores.
Yeah, thank you, Maya. Having said all of this, what can we do to make a sustainable clothing choice every day? Oh, sorry, thank you. What can we do to make a sustainable clothing choice every day? First, we start by treating our sustainable garments as investments for a better future and a healthier planet. What else? Instead of buying new clothes, you could just embrace the culture of hand-me-downs, either from the family or from friends. Thank you, Meredith. And use tools to determine brand sustainability ratings, and consider joining social media trade groups to make a meaningful impact in our community. You can also support soccer, which is an initiative by in Concordia here, and also together.
Yeah, together, let's make conscious choices about the clothes we wear and work towards a more sustainable future for all. Thank you.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about how we set that up? Okay. We'd also want to share our the experiences we had making the weaves. I don't know if I can invite the rest of our members to please come up because we didn't do it alone. Yeah.
We have our lovely Parmila
Yeah. And Athena.
and Athena.
So we're a team of 4 people, and we work closely with Sucker because that was our, during Ambassador program, our working space for volunteering. And why we come up with this specific presentation, because we were handling a lot of material on day-to-day basis.
Every day.
And of course, like, we all know what is happening with the environment and fast fashion and slow fashion, but we were like, how we can, work towards it. So if you see closely, you can come, touch, feel this material, and everything is upcycled from the Sucker. And there are these strips of weaving we have made. The idea was, like, when somebody's making your clothes, how slow it is and how labor intensive it is. So we were trying to replicate some of the idea from there, and that
It was really tiring, actually.
it was really tiring and labor intensive. Even, and just to source material, just to, I don't know, like, on day-to-day basis, we had like a lot of struggle.
Yeah.
But then we enjoyed as well, and it looks really pretty, I guess. Yeah, if you have any questions around the installation or material or what they were just saying, we are here to answer all the questions.
Yeah. Thank you for everyone for making this project possible.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Specifically, I would say Anna and Sucker team, they were really, really helpful all the time with all the demands we had. We want this table, we want this material. They're like, okay, you take it and do it. So it was really helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so just before we jump into getting a chance to play around with some of our installations, we'll have our loom team. So we'll take about 2 minutes just to help them set up, and they'll talk to you about how they started making their looms. No, they're fine.
I'd have enough for each section of my room.
So, do you have any ideas?
How about if we cut these into strips of fabric and turn into a blanket?
Something is looming, but it doesn't need to be the climate crisis.
Meet Lumi, the solution to our problems.
So, hi, my name is Janelle. I'm a Master's of Environmental Assessment student here at Concordia.
Hello, I'm Rihanna. I'm an undergraduate here at Concordia studying design. So this project was conceived as part of the Sustainability Ambassador Program. We wanted to create a project that would provide a solution to the community to creatively reuse their old clothes and textile items. We were both inspired to create these community looms after a shared conversation we had on our own struggles with textile waste, such as what to do with old pairs of socks or an old t-shirt, because we can't use them anymore, but we don't want to throw them. As most of you may know, a lot of our clothes are made of synthetic fibers, and that can take up to 200 years to degrade. And even then, they do not fully degrade, and they continue to persist in our environment for many years as a form of plastic microfibers.
So, motivated by our environmental conscience, we came up with a plan. Using a repurposed material, and that with the help of the wonderful staff at Sucker. Anna is here today. That's the Concordia University Center for Creative Reuse. Yeah, round of applause for Sucker and Anna. So with their help, we were able to build these 3 looms that can incorporate many different types of textiles, unwanted and discarded textiles that would have ended up in the landfill. So instead, we can create useful and functional products and give these textiles a second life. So these looms will be housed at Sucker, where community members can find all of the materials they need to participate in a shared weaving project. So the process of weaving takes time, and it's a form of resistance against fast fashion. Together, let's weave a new narrative. Not done yet. So a larger loom like Lumi could be used to make something like an area rug or a blanket or a throw. And then the smaller looms here can be used to make something like a rug or a chair cover, a placemat, a small tablecloth, or whatever your imagination can come up with. The pieces can also be joined together to make a bigger piece. And the setup we have here, we've got t-shirt yarn, which is making up the warp, which is the vertical strips of fabric. And we've got torn up old jeans, making up the weft, which is the horizontal strips of fabric that you weave with. And these pieces do not need to be long, because we have a method for connecting them as you weave, which I'll demonstrate now. So you've got your strips of fabric, and all you need to do is you make a small hole at each end of your fabric. You put the strips together, line up the holes. You take the tail end, put it through both holes. Pull it tight, and you've got a smooth connection with no sewing and no knots. And so there are many different types of weaving stitches that you can do. What we have here is an example of just a basic stitch. So you're just weaving over 2, under 2, over 2, under 2. All along, when you come to the end, you go around this rod, which we've put rods on either end that are going to hold the piece, keep the piece square so it doesn't get warped. And then you come back the other way, doing the same thing, over 2, under 2, over 2. You're just taking the opposite to each line that you do. And then Rihanna has an illustration of a different type of weaving stitch.
So here, instead of using like continuous strips of fabric, I just cut up several strips of fabric and then just knotted them together. Oh, thank you. Oh. Just like this. And it holds pretty well. You just have to tighten it. And then after that, I use that all along to create the warp of the weave. And then also I use the same exact one to do the actual weaving. So I'll show you a quick example. The style that I did here is called a sumac stitch. So I have one here, started here, but like I just want to show you how you would also start it. So you would start with 2 strips of fabric, and then holding your fabric like this. And also the great part about cutting strips of fabric and then tying them together just like this is that for these kind of stitches, it's kind of easier just to manipulate it, and you're not like constantly pulling on the fabric. So what you want to do is create a loop with your fabric, and then grabbing 2 of the vertical strips, you want to hold the slack with your right hand, and then pulling it underneath the 2 strips of fabric. Yeah, you want to grab it with your left hand and then pull it right through. And then that's how you get your first stitch. And then you'd repeat the same thing with another 2 pieces of fabric. You'd create a hole in between and then hold the slack with your right hand, and then pass it over underneath to your left hand and pull it right through. And then you have like kind of this style. It's called a sumac stitch. And doing this is like very repetitive, so it can become like therapeutic, and you can listen to like music or podcasts at the same time. And yeah.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
So we would love if any of you would like to join us for some weaving after the presentations. You could come to the Lumi corner and we could do a small demonstration or a little tutorial. And please don't be shy to try out weaving for yourself, because we are also just learners ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that will conclude all of our presentations for today. This is just a snippet of what some of our sustainability ambassadors have accomplished over the years. So thank you so much for joining us. We do have some interactive materials within the space, so we really want to encourage you to stay, check it out, get a chance to learn a basic weaving stitch so you can take that home with you. Pop by Sucker in the future to try it out on one of our looms. We also have our arts installation just to our audience's left. You're allowed to come and play with some of the fabric that was made to create the art installation. We'll see on some of our screens, we have the sampling from the Concordia Loyola campus survey that was done last year for the Pollen Power team. Behind our big PowerPoint screen, we actually have the example of the ecosystem map that was created in the first year. We have our arcade game, Waste Invaders. I invite you to play, see if you can beat the high score, and we'll have our weaving group in the corner. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Meredith. Thank you, everyone, for coming in today for this conversation presentation. Fantastic. And as Meredith just said, make sure you stick around for Climate Jeopardy coming up at 3 o'clock. That would be amazing. And just letting you know, we're going to close up the live stream now, but it remains on our YouTube channel.